seen this before, so...
Благодаря ви, че сте тук, че се отзовахте на нашата покана. Тази среща е много важна за всички нас. Сигурен съм и за Николай. Thank you guys, friends, for being here. This meeting is really important to all of us, I believe, especially for Nikolai. And I'm pretty sure he has a lot of things to tell us, but first I would like to ask you to say a few words about yourself. Why you came to Bulgaria, why other things happened afterward. You should start probably from
my birthday. Okay, thank you, Alexander. Thank you all my friends for being here. Today is exactly, tomorrow it will be exactly 1 month since I'm admiring the hospitality of Bulgaria. First of all, the hospitality of custody airport, then for 2 days in J.M. Dimitrov arrest, and afterwards in apartments of different friends of mine. And I'm not joking, I really admire what happened to me, even in all these arrest homes, in custody and airport, all the people which were obliged, according to the local laws, to treat me as criminal. They were really open, and they were trying to help me to overcome everything. So for me it was the most important discovery that Bulgaria, where I'm the first time and where I've come to start the first French nursing home to be constructed, that it's a real country which I always wanted to live, which I always wanted to work in. I was born in 1973, 1973 in Bashkortostan. It's one of the small republics of Russian Federation. It's Muslim Republic, but I'm Orthodox, and then I'm 14 years old. When I was 14, I moved to Moscow after I won the Olympiad of Physics in Bashkortostan, and then I became a student of Moscow State University, first of Physics department. I graduated in 1996, cum laude. Laser physics was my major. It was quite interesting, and I started immediately my first company which produced compact laser discs. And it was quite interesting business, because at that time my main competitors were Bulgarian companies for sure. You know that when you manufacture any kind of
my hometown.
Maybe that time you see that
my friends were there.
Yeah, maybe because the business was very simple. That I was trying to manufacture compact disc, and for example, the price of compact disc was about $6. You know, it was a very big music market in center of Moscow, Garbushka. So I printed out some about 5,000 compact discs. So the cost of it was €2 maybe. Euros didn't exist at the time, 1997. And then I sold, for example, 4,000 on the first weekend. Then the next weekend I wasn't able to sell anything, because Bulgarian companies printed already the accurate copies of it, and they brought exactly the same compact discs for, I don't know, for $2 maybe. So it was the business of permanent rush against Bulgars who will print out fast the copies of compact discs. But it was fine, and the most important outcome of that period of my life was that I become the student once more of law school, and my major was the time copyright. So for me it was really important to understand how to protect my intellectual property, and unfortunately the only opportunity was to create my own chain of musical and book shops in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, and so the only opportunity was to sell myself what I manufactured. And it was quite successful business. I sold it for a couple of million in 2000, and that time Mr. Putin the first time has taken his office, and I was really afraid, because you know that that time when I was student of the second time Moscow State University of law school, we learned quite well the history of law, the history of state, and from the beginning I felt already that it will not finish well. It was in 2000, and in 2000 when I sold my company, I moved to Paris, because I knew the time already. Because actually we worked together with the European community at that time for drawing out the changes for Russian copyright law. Russian copyright law was actually really inspired by French one. So it's like this. So I moved to there, and in 1 year I bought a Russian bookstore, Librairie du Globe. It was a very famous Russian bookstore. Even Gagarin in 1961 has signed his postcards there in this Librairie du Globe bookstore. And for approximately 4 years, I was trying to develop Mira. It was name of so-called international network of distributing of Russian objects of intellectual property. My main idea was that Russia at that time was exporter only mainly of gas, of oil, and of some heavy materials, and I told it no, but Russia also has to export some object of intellectual property, so books, music, or something like this. Unfortunately, I thought that I would be able to find some support from Russian state, but I failed. That only Russian bookstore in Paris still is the biggest, and I failed to do it in Finland, what I'm trying to do. But never mind. It's really interesting because Librairie du Globe, which was started in 2002, I think, under my management at that time, since that time has become the only real vitrine of modern Russia. So almost all the Russian authors presented their books there, and not only authors. From the beginning, our position was to give the opportunity to present their position for everybody. So, for example, in 2003, we were selling the book of Ahmed Zakayev, who was the Prime Minister of Chechnya, was Prime Minister in exile of Chechen Republic, which was not possible to do in Russia. Also, afterwards, for example, it was a very interesting presentation of Mr. Rogozin, who is today extremely high supporter of Mr. Putin, and apparently Mr. Freiberg, who was one of those 7 Soviet people who in 1968 has participated in the only manifestation against the Russian invasion in Czechoslovakia, and afterwards who was imprisoned, and right now he is in Paris. So, till 2005, I was trying to create this international network of sales of Russian objects of intellectual property. When I got the time failed, I decided to get the 3rd education, so I've passed the exams, and I became the student of London School of Economics, and for 2 years I was looking the new area of my future interest. And it was really fine because in 2006 I've taken like my major, like my top project, the very interesting theme, the creating of social clusters in emergency economies. So with my friends we started the first network of private retirement residences in Russia at that time. So once more I moved back to Russia, not for all the time, but I started to spend once more quite significant time in Russia, and we succeeded. We developed the first network with 5 residences, and in 2000, which developed, we even succeeded to overcome crisis of 2008. But then we started to have very serious problems with Russian state monopolies like Russian Railways and with the Moscow government, because what we succeeded to do, that we have shown to everybody that the sums which are officially spent for Moscow budget for one place in nursing home is almost twice bigger than actually it's possible to organize. So if anybody knows that the social budget of Moscow is as much big as all the budget of London, so it's approximately 10 billion euros. It's budget of social spendings of Moscow city. So it's, and when you start, and you can understand that, for example, they spend 80,000 rubles for one bed, and in reality you can buy it from open market, for example, from that senior group which I established only for 40,000, almost twice less. and definitely it was not a very, very good example of good management. I never told that it was corruption at that time because I did not have any real proofs of it, but the fact is that still now Moscow budget spends for social care twice more money which they can buy on the open market. That's true. So in 2010, after quite serious problems with Russian Airways, who asked me to construct for them retirement facility with only condition that I had to sign the budget also twice bigger than it was in reality, and after my serious problems with Moscow government, when they promised by TV that they will destroy my business, it was quite funny, you can find it on YouTube, when Minister of Moscow government tells that I want to say that I asked the prosecutor office to make some problems, разобраться, he told in Russian, with the senior group just to get... It was quite funny because even then Malachov, who was the leader of that report of that program, he asked him, you are a state executive, you are not able to say like this what you are saying, but it was the reality. So in 2010, once more, I moved to Paris, and then, since 2010, I started the next project, the development of nursing homes and aged residences in Eastern European countries. So, together with the biggest investment fund, Batipar, it's a French fund, we started the project of creating Senior Baltic. It's the network of residences in Poland, Lithuania and Latvia. Then last year we opened the first residence for 200 beds, and it's quite good and extremely interesting project which we work in, and that was my main aim of visiting Bulgaria. So my personal main idea is to develop the chain of retirement residences of the new generation in all Eastern European countries, because we see quite strange situation that all other areas of human activity since the crash of Soviet Union have been significantly changed. So we have here and everywhere the new supermarkets, the new roads, the new types of auto dealers, but everything which concerns the care about old or dependent people is still on the same level. So no real new big residences are constructed here, no any systems of taking care of old people in their own places are developed. So we're trying to develop it. Apparently in 2011, you remember that we Russia had at the time very serious election frauds, and in Paris quite spontaneously the civil movement, so-called Russie Liberté, was organized. So in December 2011 there were a series of protests in Paris where I participated, and the first one were even organized seriously with my help. This movement was registered like NGO in 2012 in I think it was somewhere on May of 2012, and I've never been any manager or gestionnaire or director of this association. Just to be very clear that I'm social entrepreneur, so I'm not a politician, I'm human right activist, maybe I'm political activist, but I'm not politician. So my main idea has always been just to not to agree with something which I don't think corresponds to my vision of normal situation. So, for example, because I've seen the time that because of the fact that in Russia human rights are seriously violated, social entrepreneurship projects were not able to be developed there on full scale, and definitely I was not able to agree to all these frauds in elections, to all this situation with political prisoners, the Pussy Riot. So Russie Liberté, it's the association right now, it's the most prominent NGO of French people who are interested in development of democracy in Russia, which is registered in Paris. For the first several months it was even registered on my home address where I lived, and I always participated in all the activities. So when